The first time I saw the HOA man climb my fence, I didn't shout. Didn't warn him. Didn't even step off my porch. I just watched, quiet, steady, the way my grandfather taught me. Never confront a fool before you collect your evidence, he used to say. Wise man. Hard man. The kind who knew fences better than people. That afternoon, the air was still, cicadas humming in the tree line, when the two men in HOA polos appeared at the far boundary of my ranch. One grabbed the top beam, planted his boot in the lower rail, and hauled himself up like a raccoon trying to remember how gravity worked. The other followed, clipboards tucked beneath their arms like badges of authority. No knocking, no calling out, no reading the bright yellow sign that said private ranch land, trespassing will be prosecuted. They didn't care. I hit record on the camera app. Let every second of that stupidity burn into storage. 10 minutes later, they climbed back down, scribbling something like they were evaluating cattle instead of property they didn't own. They walked back toward the new development without a backward glance. You'd think that would have been the end of it. It wasn't. 3 days later, after a windstorm tore through the area, I walked the fence line like I always do, just me, Duke trotting ahead, the land quiet except for the occasional whistle of wind through cedar. That's when I saw it. The top wire, cut clean. Not broken by branches, not bent by livestock, cut. Smooth. Precise. A bolt cutter job. Someone had stepped under the no trespassing sign, snipped the boundary, and walked away like they'd trimmed a stray weed. I stared at the wire for a long moment. My land is old, it whispers when something's wrong. Today it was shouting. I opened the security feed on my phone and scrubbed back through the motion alerts. And there he was. The same HOA patrol man. Same posture. Same shoes. Same rat-quick movements. Except this time, he wasn't climbing, he was crouched low, scanning the road like a coward before cutting my fence. That did it. Laughing at their letters was one thing. Watching a grown man trespass at noon with bolt cutters. Whole different matter. So after feeding the steers that evening, I filed my first police report in 10 years. Officer Judson showed up 20 minutes later, gravel crunching beneath his cruiser tires. Good man, steady as they come. He once helped me round up loose cattle in the middle of a storm and wouldn't take a dime for it. He looked at the printouts and whistled slow. This is criminal trespass, he said. He pointed at the bolt cutter frame visible in the freeze frame. And that's property damage. I nodded. Figured you'd say that. Judson pushed his hat back and looked toward the shiny new houses creeping up the ridge. These HOA folks, he muttered, they forget where the pavement ends. The next night, the air felt wrong. Heavy. The kind of stillness that tells you something's watching. At 12:47 a.m., my phone buzzed. Camera 6, north fence line. Duke's ears shot up before I even reached for the phone. The grainy night vision showed a lone figure sneaking along my property line. Hood up, scarf hiding half his face, backpack strapped tight. And in his hand, the unmistakable shape of bolt cutters. I froze the frame. Same build. Same shoes. Same idiot. Midnight doesn't make fools smarter. What he didn't know was this: 2 days earlier, I'd replaced that very section of fence with a dummy wire rigged to a legal, harmless die pack. Farmers use them to mark livestock thieves. Cops use them for bait cash. He lined up the cutters. Squeezed. Snap. Pop. A bright explosion of neon orange burst straight into his chest and face. He stumbled backward, arms flailing, slipping in the dirt. The camera mic caught him screaming something between curses and panic. He ran zigzag across the field like a pumpkin trying to grow legs. I saved every clip. Every frame. Minutes later, headlights swept across my porch. Sheriff Hayes stepped out, a big man with calm eyes and boots older than half the county. He watched the video in silence. When the dye pack exploded, he let out a slow exhale. "Well," he said, "that's criminal trespass. And attempted vandalism." He walked to the fence and shined his flashlight on the signs I'd posted every 10 feet. "Electric?" he asked. "Not yet," I said. "But legally allowed when I do." Hayes gave me a look that said he'd seen this same HOA nonsense before. "These boys forget this ain't suburbia. They forget the land remembers who owns it." Before he left, he said something that stuck with me. "Clay, they weren't after your fence. They're after your land." That changed everything. The next morning, the sun wasn't even fully up when a black SUV rolled down my gravel driveway. Perfect paint, polished chrome, wrong kind of vehicle for dirt roads. Out stepped a man in pressed slacks and polished leather shoes. Posture stiff. Hair parted with military precision. A leather folio tucked under one arm. "Mr. Banner," he said, offering a hand I didn't take. "I'm Bradley Sloan, president of Clear Hill Acres HOA." Of course he was. He looked around my ranch like he was already imagining a for sale sign. "Last night caused concern," he said. "You mean the trespass?" He waved a hand dismissively. "A misunderstanding. That told me everything." Then he said the line that made me switch on my recorder in my shirt pocket. "What if we purchased the northern strip from you? 30, 40 feet. A fair price. Say, 50,000. I stared at him. "And if I say no?" His smile tightened. "Well, then the association may have to file ongoing safety complaints. Fence violations. Environmental concerns. These things can drag out for years, Mr. Banner." There it was. A threat. A man in shiny shoes trying to dictate terms on land my family held since 1931. I leaned forward just enough for him to feel it. "You threatening me, Bradley?" He laughed nervously. "Oh no. Just offering solutions." He had no idea the recorder was catching every word. And he had no idea that he'd just declared war. Bradley's SUV wasn't even off my property before I started planning. Not retaliation. Not anger. Strategy. Because this wasn't about a fence anymore. This was about land, rights, and the kind of quiet war city men think they can win with paperwork. But they forget, out here, the law works different. Before noon, I drove to the county office with every video clip, photograph, audio file, and timestamp printed and filed. The clerk, Miss Harper, watched one of the clips twice. "Good grief," she said. "These HOA boys don't know who they're messing with." "No, ma'am. They don't." By sunset, two things had happened. One, my complaint was officially filed for trespass, attempted vandalism, harassment, and illegal interference with agricultural fencing. Two, I had the green light to install a fully certified, fully legal electric fence on active agricultural land. Nothing lethal. Nothing extreme. Just a standard rancher's deterrent. And I made sure the warning signs were so big you'd have to be blind or stupid to miss them. Unfortunately for the HOA, they had someone who was both. 3 nights later, at 1:18 a.m., camera 4 lit up. A lone figure approached the fence again, hood, backpack, cutters. Either he hadn't learned from the dye incident, or Bradley sent him back hoping I'd remove the fence out of fear. Either way, it was his mistake. The man reached forward, grabbed the top rail, and zop. He shrieked loud enough the coyotes stopped howling. He dropped the cutters, fell backward into the dirt, scrambled up, tripped, and ran like something from a cartoon. The kind of run where your legs move faster than your brain can understand what's happening. I saved that clip. Labeled it. Printed it. By sunrise, the HOA's emergency line was blowing up because one of their patrol volunteers had shown up at his house smelling like burnt hair and bad decisions. That same afternoon, 2 sheriff cruisers rolled up my driveway. Not to arrest me. To arrest him. Sheriff Hayes stepped out, nodded toward the fence. "You warned them plenty," he said. "Everything's legal." They got nothing. The HOA didn't think so. Because the next morning, I got a letter on fancy letterhead claiming my fence was dangerous. I had created a hostile perimeter. And I was endangering community safety. I smiled reading it. Because I already had a better letter ready. My attorney, an old family friend, filed a restraining order against the HOA and subpoenaed the board for harassment, attempted land coercion, and illegal trespass on agricultural property. When Bradley got served, he looked like someone kicked the air out of his lungs. But the real show was court. The courtroom was packed. HOA members on one side in matching polos, ranchers and farmers on the other like a human wall of denim and boots. Bradley straightened his tie like he thought it meant something. Then the judge pressed play on the video. First clip. Their patrolman climbing my fence. Second clip. Him cutting my wire in daylight. Third clip. The dye pack exploding in his face. Half the court snorted trying not to laugh. The 1 a.m. electric shock, followed by the man sprinting like a deer on fire. Then came the audio. Bradley's voice, smooth as grease. "We could purchase the northern strip, 50,000. And if you say no, the association may file safety complaints. These things can drag out for years." The judge froze the audio. Looked at Bradley over her glasses. "Mr. Sloan, that is extortion." Bradley went pale. My attorney stood. Calm. Confident. The HOA illegally entered my client's land, damaged his fencing, attempted to coerce him into selling property, and then retaliated when he refused. Everything Mr. Banner did afterward was fully within agricultural law. The judge didn't deliberate long. HOA verdict. Guilty of harassment. Guilty of trespass. Guilty of attempted coercion. Ordered to pay fines, restitution, and legal fees. HOA patrol banned permanently from approaching my boundary. The HOA president, Bradley Sloan, removed from his position. And the cherry on top. The judge leaned forward and said, "Mr. Banner, your electric fence is legal. Keep it." When we walked out, ranchers shook my hand. HOA members glared daggers. Bradley didn't look at me at all. He just walked to his SUV like a man who finally learned the difference between paper rules and real land. That night, when I stood on my porch with Duke, the wind rustled through the cedar again. Same land. Same sky. But now, the line was protected. Not by wires or warnings. By the truth. And by the simple fact that they picked the wrong fence to mess with.